right, well, welcome. This is a presentation from our financial literacy series. And today's topic is financial freedom for females. And we selected this topic to celebrate Women's History Month. And I am Peggy Chavez. I'm a senior advisor for career and transfer services. And I'm also joined by Miss Tracy Floyd, director of student success, Miss Tammy Toney, who's our scholarship coordinator. And then you ladies know Miss Selena Whipsaw. She's the founder and chair of the Boardroom Project. So thank you for being here to attend today's presentation. And I wanted to share a few points as to why this presentation we felt was important, especially for this group of ladies. So overall, women tend to earn less than men. So in 2018, the Pew Research Center found that women earn only 85% of what men earn. Women have a higher rate of college completion, which is fantastic, yet it may also mean more student debt to incur. Women are more likely to quit their jobs to be a caregiver to a child or a parent. And women spent an average of fewer years in the workforce compared to men. Not to mention the financial impact of divorce can create financial ruin for many women, thinking of the loss of income, lawyers' fees, and then being the primary parent or caregiver. Oftentimes, there's a lot of hidden costs that come along with that are not necessarily recovered with child support alone. And women have lower lifetime earnings compared to men, yet often tend to live longer than men. So there's so many reasons why that we felt that this topic was important for you. So at this time, I wanted to introduce Miss Tammy Toney. She is our scholarship coordinator, and we wanted her to share some information so that you can be a little bit savvy on what is available for you, what scholarships, so that you're not necessarily incurring any additional cost to get through school. We want to make it as financially sound as possible. And Ms. Tammy Toney can show you some of the ways in which to do that. So I will turn it over to her.
Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate that. When we started the meeting, I saw Jahara there. She, I believe, was a scholarship recipient. Were you, Jahara?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how did it go for you? How did receiving a scholarship help you?
It actually helped quite a lot because I never really knew how much my classes cost. And even though Alamo College just broke it down for me, and even though I had the financial aid to support me, my scholarship helped push me and helped gain access to taking extracurricular courses that I needed for my degree plan.
Well, great. That's a perfect example of how scholarships can help you continue your education as you try to go through Alamo colleges and beyond. So Peggy, I need to share screens because I have some slides I want to present. Thank you, Jahara.
Oh, okay, so Tammy, you are a co-host, so I think you should be able to share your screen.
I should be able to share. Oh,
I just made it available to share everyone.
Okay, thank you.
I just opened it.
Okay, am I sharing?
You are, but we only see the top part. Okay, now we can see the full PowerPoint.
Okay, there we go. How's that?
Looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name is Tammy Toney, and I'm the scholarship coordinator at Northeast Lakeview College. I administer the scholarship program on our campus. Today, I'm going to try to highlight the scholarship process and to provide some additional resources that may help you to help pay for college. Okay, so the scholarships that I process come from the Alamo College's foundation. And those scholarships are made possible by donations to the Alamo Colleges Foundation from faculty, staff, businesses, and other charitable organizations throughout San Antonio. Okay, so our application process starts in January of each year. So for the 2020-2021, the 2021-2022 academic year, the scholarship application opened on January 6th, and the priority deadline will be on April 6th. So if you haven't gotten your applications in, time is running short. So we'll start working on it as soon as possible. The absolute final deadline to submit your application will be on September 6th. Okay, so a little bit more about the scholarship process. Each academic year, students are supposed to submit a new application. So in January of each year, I would start looking for for ads or emails or whatnot from me, just to remind you to go ahead and submit the application. When you submit your application, you're applying for multiple scholarships. So it's not just, it's one application, and you'll be considered for all of the scholarships we have listed on our scholarship webpage. I'll be providing the link to the webpage later on in this presentation. So after the applications are collected, applications are scored by a panel of judges. So keep that in mind as you complete the application, because the applications will be judged thorough as you complete each section of the application. Students who are selected to receive a scholarship will be notified by email. So I'll be sending out an email to those who are selected to receive a scholarship. The application itself can be found on our webpage, and I have the website listed here. It has 6 parts. The first part is the general application questions. So it asks a little bit about your enrollment plans. That is, if you're full-time or if you anticipate being part-time. It asks for your plan of study, which is basically your major. And then it asks you to submit transcripts. I need to make a note there, and we're trying to get that changed at our on the application, but transcripts are not required. So to submit the application, you do not have to upload the transcripts. The system will allow you to go ahead and submit the application without having uploaded. On part 2 of the application, it asks about your academic plans. Again, it asked about enrollment, your anticipated graduation date, and then your transfer plans, if you're planning on going on to another institution, a 4-year institution, or what have you. On the third part, it asked a bunch of questions. Now, those questions are going to be used to determine which scholarships you're eligible for. Because again, I mentioned that you're being considered for multiple applications with the one application. I'm sorry, multiple scholarships with the one application. So the system, in order to find out which scholarships or to determine which scholarships you're eligible for, it asked a bunch of questions. So the fourth part is the essay. So on the essay, I just want to mention that spelling, grammar, punctuation is all considered. They just will be looking at those to make sure, when they're doing their scoring, to provide a score for your particular application. So the essay prompt is listed there, and I just want to mention here too that I served as a judge about 5 years ago, before I was a scholarship coordinator. And what I found is that a lot of students didn't formulate their response to the essay what have you. I just want to mention here again to focus on the essay prompt and speak to the prompt. I think I missed some sections there.
And Tammy, if I can just add to that. So one of my coworkers was a judge last year, and she said that there was some really moving essays, and she was really hoping to be able to award them a scholarship. However, because of the grammar, spelling, and punctuation, it took away so many points. And so she said it was unfortunate that their submission couldn't rank higher because of the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So again, please pay special attention to that part of it, because these are easy points that you can accumulate in your application just by making sure that you have a sound essay. And I would also encourage you to maybe visit our learning center so that you can ask maybe an English tutor to review the application essay for you, and they'll be happy to take a look at it and review it before your final submission.
Thank you, Peggy. Those are good tips. I appreciate that. Part 5 of the application is about the volunteer and community service. This is where you list any volunteer or community service activities that you may have participated in. In that area, if you don't have any volunteer or community service hours per se, you can also include honors, awards, recognitions, even your employment. So you got to be savvy, as to what you use. But I would suggest that you list at least 3 of those areas on the application, because again, those kinds of things will be taken into consideration on the application by the judges. And then the last part is the authorization and certification. That's where you're going to type your name and the date to sign the application. Okay, again, like I mentioned before, the scholarships applications are going to be judged, and this is the rubric that the judges will be using to score the application. So the GPA is kind of preset, because it's based again on your GPA, and so you'll get those points for whatever you think your GPA is. Now we'll be verifying it in our system before we make the final determinations. Let's see, the next area is the volunteer and community service. That's why I said to be sure to list at least 3 services there, so that you won't miss out on those points. And then we have the essay that allows for 50 points. And like I said, and like Peggy mentioned, you have the grammar, spelling, and punctuation, which accounts for 10 points, for a total available points to you of 100. We've had students in the past who have scored perfect scores on their applications. And what I noticed on those applications is that their essays are very well laid out. Of course, they have the GPA and the volunteer and whatever, but their essay, because it's the main point, the majority of the points, the essays were stellar in that they were well laid out. They gave the judges a picture of what the student is currently doing and what the student's plans are as far as going to a 4-year institution, and then beyond that, as far as going into their career field. So we found that that was the commonality between the applications that got the higher scores. So after the applications are judged, then I begin the awards process. So like I mentioned before, students selected to receive scholarships will receive an offer letter from me through their email. A couple of notes here is again, the one application is required each year. Students are applying for multiple scholarship with that one application. If students are receiving other aids, they may still be eligible for scholarships. We have students who are receiving financial aid, and if they have unmet need, they may still be awarded a scholarship. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so scholarship amounts over and above the cost of tuition and fees will be refunded to the students. So after if you're awarded a scholarship, and once your tuition and fees are paid, or after they've been paid in full, any additional funds will be refunded directly to you. And then those funds may be used to help with any college-related expenses. And in some cases, that's books, supplies, rent, cell phones, cell phone services, etc. Okay, so that is pretty much it for the internal. We also, our scholarship provide additional resources. We include any information that we may have received on external scholarships. External scholarships or any other scholarships that are not provided through our foundation. So they're not managed through my office. So we update that list twice per month or as needed. And so you as a student are welcome to use that resource to apply for additional scholarships outside of the Alamo College scholarship process. Okay, so my contact information is here. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at that email address since we are working remotely. And you can ask me any other questions you have right now.
Miss Tammy, I did include some questions in the chat, so I wouldn't forget. One question is,
okay.
When would the funds be awarded to the student account? So the final deadline is in September, right?
Okay, so the final, after each application deadline, we have a scholarship judging event where those scholarships, the new scholarships are judged. And then I start awarding after the scores are calculated. I start awarding immediately after that. So after the priority deadline, which is like I said, in April, I will probably start awarding in early May. And then after the September deadline, I'll probably start awarding in early October. That's when, students should start looking to see if, to be sure to check their emails to see if they've been awarded a scholarship.
Okay, so those funds could essentially be applied to both semesters, their spring and their fall, right?
Correct,
okay.
Correct. And we never send emails. Some students ask why we don't send emails to let them know that they didn't receive a scholarship. And the reason being is that we receive donations, throughout the year. So if we get a huge donation or even small donations and the scholarship funds are replenished, then we can, award more students. So we just leave that door open so that, as we award students, we go right down that list. As we award students, then we contact them and let them know. So at no point do I tell students, hey, you haven't been awarded a scholarship, because we just don't know.
That makes sense. Students, do you have any other questions about scholarships, the scholarship application, any of the deadlines, the awards?
Tammy, thank you so much for that information. I think sometimes we hear so much about scholarships, we don't really see the impacts. And I just wanted to really quickly, because I know we have a lot to cover, but I just really wanted to very quickly tell you guys a story about a work study that I had several years ago. She was a work study when I was working at SAC. She is getting ready to apply. Well, actually, she's already applied for her PhD program. And she has, I know, I saw somebody go, wow. She has done all of it, the entire thing. She has 0 student debt. She has never taken out a loan, and she is a single parent from the time she was a work study at SAC. So she has done it all on scholarships. And one of the things that I saw her do, and again, I've written more recommendation letters for her than you can imagine. Ask people for those recommendation letters. Don't be afraid to ask for those recommendation letters. We'll do it. We will absolutely do it for you in a heartbeat. And then the other thing she did was she sought out scholarships like it was her job. She looked everywhere all the time, and she applied for them like it was her job. And really it was. It not only paid for her college, but it also paid for, like Tammy was saying, those extra things outside of that. So she was able to pay for her associate's degree at SAC, her bachelor's degree at A&M San Antonio. She's about to graduate with her master's degree at UTSA, and she's applying for her PhD. And I actually have to write her another recommendation letter to pay for her PhD through scholarships. So guys, it is absolutely doable. And you know, this woman will walk across the stage, and every bit of her salary that she makes from her educational career goes in her pocket and not to the Department of Education. So keep that in mind. It is doable. You can do it. I know, right? She's my hero. She is absolutely my hero. But I just wanted to, it is possible, and people are doing it out there. Don't let that money sit on the table. You deserve it as much as she does. So go get it.
No, that's wonderful, ladies. And if I may, I'll echo what Miss Toney said, and both of you ladies, that if any of you, for those that are part of our NLC Women Leaders, you already know if you need a letter of recommendation, a letter of support, you have not only Northeast Lakeview, but you also have the Boardroom Project to support you in those documents, because and I'll reference this, but definitely to your point, don't leave that money on the table. If you don't have to come out of pocket and it can get paid for, I love that. Ms. Toney, if you will kindly, just because the last slide went by quickly, if you'll pop in your email address, I would love to connect with you. Oop, there you go. Ms. Chavez was already reading my mind, and I will connect on that, because you know, I think this is something, an area that cannot be spoken enough, right? And so sometimes you may hear it once, but it's probably not until the third or fourth time that it really sinks in and is like, oh, wow, you can get school paid for, and this is how you go about it. And especially with us wanting to support women of color and getting access to these areas. Yeah, I would love to meet with you and work together in the future on this. So I'm excited about this information as well. So thank you for sharing.
Sure. Thank you so much, Toney, and Tammy. And so I did drop Miss Toney's email into the chat. And so if you have any questions, NLC does have a website. And so if you go to the homepage, search scholarships, their website is one of the first 2 that come up, I believe. And so you can read more. It links to the application, and it has information helpful. And then again, if you have any questions, you can take down Ms. Toney's email address and feel free to reach out to her directly. And like she said, money is always coming into the district. And so, so keep those applications coming, and be sure that you renew every single year. So thank you, Tammy, for joining us. We really appreciate your information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Toney.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. So we appreciate your time. So if you need to log off to be somewhere else, we understand, and we will still stay connected with you if we have any questions again.
You take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, did you have a question, Gianna?
Oh, I was just sweeping by.
Oh, okay. I thought you were raising your hand.
No, it's okay.
All right, so that was the first portion of our presentation. The second part is we have a guest speaker with us, and I would like to introduce Miss Laura Redfern. She is a certified financial planner. She does have a background in theater arts and British literature, which as a career advisor, I think is just fantastic. So you never know what you're going to end up doing for your career, how it may or may not relate to what you study in school. She first began her work in finance in 2002, and she's focused on investment management and retirement planning. So she enjoys helping clients navigate through difficult transitions such as divorce, inheritance, and retirement. She is an active member of Toastmasters International, and her professional mission is to take the fear out of finance and make money more meaningful. So please help me welcome Miss Laura Redfern. I did give her a brief update about the group and why it was important that her presentation, that we provide you the information from her presentation. So I will turn it over to Ms. Redfern.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chavez. Hello, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I see Monica's got a little St. Patrick's Day love there. Awesome. I love it. I've got my green on as well. I don't know, you can see very much in Zoom, but shout out to the celebration. So I love that you started this today talking about the scholarships. Boy, the power of that was so cool for me to follow with that. I think this information will be even more powerful as you think about money and how it can be active in your life. So in finance, as Ms. Chavez said at the beginning, women can be at a disadvantage. But the good news is, ladies, I have seen and read and observed that we actually can turn those weaknesses around and make them strengths that will work for us instead of against us. And that's why I'm passionate about giving you this information today. So let me share my screen so we can get started here. Great. Can we see my screen okay? Some nods, thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Awesome. And one housekeeping thing that I neglected to ask Ms. Chavez, if you have questions or thoughts as I go through this presentation, can they put them in the chat, Ms. Chavez?
Yes, feel
Perfect.
free to put them in the chat. If you don't mind them unmuting, they can unmute as well to ask questions, or they can put them in the chat and I can moderate that as well.
Great. Either one, whatever you are comfortable with, ladies. If I were in a classroom with you, I would encourage you to shout out to me. I like this to be conversational. If you got something on your mind, it's probably important, and you're probably not the only one thinking that. So please, as questions come up, feel free to ask them. I love questions. So PowerPoint is awesome when it works. There we go. Yay, that's me. That's enough about me. And that's my disclosures. And that's enough about disclosures. All right, let's get to today's topics. We're going to explore a few very important hacks, you could call them, important challenges that women face and how to overcome them. We're also going to talk first a little bit about mindset and how important a foundational tool that is. And then if there is Q&A at the end that we haven't covered, we'll touch upon that as well. So let's get right to it. First, we need to examine the foundation of what we're going for, right? So when you think about wealth and you think about financial freedom, any pictures pop into your head? What does wealth mean? Shout out or put in the chat.
Not have to worry about where your next bill comes from or being able to pay a bill.
Excellent. Being able to pay a bill, not have to worry about where my money's coming from. Awesome. What else? Let me ask this. If you Googled this and you were looking at just in the media, what pictures of wealth are out there that you've seen? I think there's some chat things popping up. I don't think I can see them. Ms. Chavez, can you read any? Thank you.
So being able to live comfortably, total assets, gold coins. Yeah, I picture someone like on a yacht,
Yes.
sailing in Greece or something.
Awesome. Great, great. This is exactly what I was getting at here with this question. So this is kind of what we picture of wealth, right? Someone on a yacht, this woman is shopping, she's obviously living her best life, right? All this kind of stuff. What about this one? Does that look like wealth to you? I don't know. She's kind of got shabby jeans. Her hair's not done. Like, what's that?
I think
Well,
so. She has her own garden,
she has her garden.
her own thing going on there. Yeah.
Monica, you hit it. You hit it, girl. So what I'm trying to get us to think about and realize is affluence versus wealth. This is a key difference because media, the gold coins, like you mentioned, Ms. Chavez, the bling, everything that they make you think is wealth isn't. That is affluence. That's showing off. That's spending money, not growing money. Big, big difference there. When you think about the difference in those two verbs, spending, growing, women are natural nurturers. It's in our biology. Even if you aren't particularly motherly or family oriented, you're programmed somewhere to lean into that side of thinking. We are natural growers. And so we have tools that lean us into this aspect. We just unlearn them throughout all of our lives and think that wealth is something when it's not. So for example, Monica, when you pointed out, well, wait, but she's got her own thing and she's growing there. Yes, yes, that kind of mindset is going to lead you to financial success, even if you don't really think that connects with finance. It does. There's a great book out there called The Millionaire Next Door, if you haven't heard of it. There's also a version called The Millionaire Next Door for Women. So there are multiple versions out there. I actually think the original is a little bit better than the For Women one. It's just written a little better. But either one is a worthwhile read. It looks like a big book. It's very intimidating. You could read the first couple of chapters and get it. And it talks about this affluence versus wealth, but it's actual studies that they went out and looked at people who were affluent, found out most of the time, you'll look under the hood of like this top lady, for example, you find out she is so deep in debt. She doesn't have any real wealth. She just looks good, but she's not leaving behind a legacy that to her children or her spouse. She's really living on the edge of paycheck to paycheck. She's probably pretty stressed out. So that's not what we want to aspire to. We actually want to aspire to something like that second picture where we have on our terms, we are growing something and nurturing something. Now, if that's all you get out of today, you're 1,000,000% ahead of most people that I talk to. But now that we've established that mindset, I want to talk about 3 key challenges we have in achieving real wealth and how we can overcome them. So the first challenge that we have here is around budget. Who gets a pit in their stomach when you talk about budget? Right? No one likes this. I've found a few tools though that can help to make this a little bit more digestible. The first is simply the realization that this is the key. This is the driver behind having everything we just defined that we wanted in wealth, that living comfortably, that not having to worry about where I can pay for my next bill. Budget, ladies, it's like simple, it's not super sexy, but it is truly the key. Now, the people that I have worked with, the women I have worked with, I should say, who are really successful in this, make it into a game. So it's not all about focusing on, no, I can't have this. No, I can't buy that. I'm broke, I can't afford it. That kind of negative thinking doesn't really help you. Instead, one of my clients who saved up money for a down payment on a house in a matter of just a few years, she was amazing. She gamified this. She made it her job to figure out how to save money in little bits every opportunity that she had. She put her change in a jar and didn't spend it. She would figure out how to take on extra side hustles, perhaps, and make a few extra dollars. She would trade with friends of, hey, you have this skill, I have this skill. Let's work out something on trade rather than having to pay. She had all kinds of clever ways to make it a game to see how little can I spend every month. And she got so good at it. She was getting down to maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month was her spending. That's really low. So she was really successful in doing that, but it was never something that was a pain, that felt heavy, that was onerous. It was something that was fun. And do you see how that also transfers the control? She was always in control of that. She never felt like, oh no, I have to pay XYZ. She was always making, ooh, how can I? So I want to leave you with that, is be asking, how can I? Instead of saying, I can't, when it comes to budget. That's a key right there. The other hack that I want to share, who has heard of FIRE? Anybody? Ooh, goody, I get to share something new. This is exciting. I encourage you to check it out. You can just Google FIRE budgeting or just FIRE, but here's the website that I liked. It's playingwithfire.co, and then this was /whatisFIRE. FIRE stands for Financially Independent Retire Early. FIRE, ta-da! It is a movement that started many years ago where often couples, but sometimes just single women, will ascribe to living on half of their income. Whatever that number is, there's no prescribed number. They see their income and they say, all right, half of this is my spending money, my living money. The rest, the other half, is saving and investing. And that's it. People who have used this do two things that make it really successful. The first thing is they learn really fast how to live frugally. So like we were talking about with budgeting, how to make it a game, how to scale back. If you can live on just half of the income, you learn how to get creative and clever in your spending. That's the first strength that they learn. The other strength is when you save and invest the other half, that can compound very, very quickly, so that many of these fire starters are able to retire in as little as 10 or 15 years. So if you've heard of people retiring in their 30s or 40s, yes, that's a thing. They're usually someone who has done something like this, living on very little, saving a lot. The other part of this equation that's ingenious is that when you do that, the amount you have to save to live on is less. Because if you're already used to living on, for example, if you are used to living on $1,000 a month, now this is extreme, okay? I get this. $1,000 a month. Well, you don't have to save up $4 million to generate that kind of income. Heck, you don't have to save up very much at all, really. So your nest egg that you would need in retirement, and we'll get to retirement in a little bit more in a minute, your nest egg doesn't have to be as big because your lifestyle doesn't require as much. In other words, if you think about that garden metaphor, if you only had to feed you, do you need acres and acres and acres of land? You could probably do a container garden and be perfectly happy with that. That's the same thing that FIRE does. You don't need as much and you save a lot more. So check it out. I think FIRE is a really cool idea. This is extreme. I will say that my husband and I have done a portion of this. We didn't save 50%, but we saved backwards. We lived on 70%. We said, let's scale back 70% of our income, save 30. Let's just do that for 1 year. What would that be like? Now, one of the blessings of COVID was we couldn't go anywhere last year. So it was a little easier. But taking opportunities like that to save, hey, that's pretty cool. So that kind of thinking. I'm going to pause because I think there might have been some questions in the chat. Ms. Chavez, were there?
So yeah, one of the other comments was thinking of just sustainability, like having that in mind of what you need to be able to sustain, and that was related to the idea of wealth, being able just to sustain your lifestyle, for example. And then Tracy was saying about like changing your family tree, and so I think that was related to remind me, Tracy.
It's about leaving your family in a better position than what came from. So it's actually a Dave Ramsey thing, but it's, you know, what we do and how we, even if it's just learning behaviors. But, you know, if I retire and I have a little something to give my kids, or I can help them pay their college, then I set them up to be in a better position, which sets them up to be in a better, to give a better position to their kids. And so you really just change your whole family tree. I don't know how many of y'all are first in family. I'm first college graduate in my family. And so, you know, you change that whole mindset dynamic. So, you know, just kind of learning these things. So I don't want to take up all your.
No, Tracy, that is awesome. And congrats on being the first college grad in your family. That is so cool. And isn't that the point of a lot of this, whether it's education or finance and savings, is to leave the world better for the next generation, whether that's your children or your students or your neighbor, but trying to improve things both for yourself and for others. That's great. I love that. And yes, Dave Ramsey, thank you for that shout out. I love some of the things he has. If you, anyone on here is not familiar with him, check out some of his resources. He's got a good website with some resources. He's got a lot of stuff you can buy, you know, and you don't honestly need to buy a lot of it. There's free resources on there as well that are fantastic. At a different date, I think we're going to be doing a session on debt specifically, which I'm really excited about. And with that, we'll be using Dave Ramsey's idea of debt snowball, which is very cool. So put a pin in that. Great shout out on that. As far as sustainability, I also really love that that got brought up. Thank you for whomever mentioned that. Yes, sustainability is something I'm going to talk about more with retirement. But the idea that you can build a nest egg, like in this fire idea, right? You're building a nest egg that becomes an engine. I have a friend who calls it her money machine. She's now retired in her 50s. She retired early because she built up her money machine so well that it can now, she's living just off the interest of her investments. That's what you want to get to. That's the idea. So you're not making this bucket that you then, oh gosh, saved $1 million, so I'm going to probably spend $1 million, right? No, that's not the idea at all. What you're building with that bucket is you're creating your next employer. That's what I want all people always to think about with retirement savings. If you put it in a 401k or whatever kind of plan you have that you're saving in, it's not, don't think of it just as the dollars that like a bank account going in and out. That's small thinking. Think of it as I am creating an engine, or I am creating my next employer. This thing, this bucket, is going to be paying paychecks to me for the rest of my life. And that's the kind of sustainability to think about there. That's very cool. Awesome. Okay. Since we could go on about this all day, but since we have limited time, let's go to slide number 2. Okay. So the first challenge that women have is with budget and spending. And I think we've hacked on that pretty well. The next one is insurance. Now, this is interesting because marketers know us women really well. Who's ever been to Bath and Body Works? Can you get out of Bath and Body Works for less than like at least $50? No.
I tried.
No, I can't either. I'm a financial advisor. They get me every time. Why? What do they do, ladies? What do they do that's absolutely brilliant, that preys upon our natural?
It's really
Send coupons.
I was like, there's really cheap and there's deals.
And free little miniature travel size goodies with the purchase.
And they fit in your purse.
Yes. Awesome. Totally. Absolutely. So they know us really well. The deals and the coupons is the thing that I really wanted to touch on. It's a great deal. I came in, I only needed 1 soap, but I bought 12 because it was a great deal, right? Okay, so the thing to think about with financial products especially, but probably any buying, honestly, is it's not a great deal if you don't actually need it, right? Hey, I buy stuff at Bath & Body Works all the time, so I'm not saying that. But the idea is, I'm backing up a little bit. In insurance, rather than the fun part, like Bath & Body Works, they play upon the fear part or the emotion part and then tell you that, hey, you're going to get a great deal. The best example that I can give for this is AD&D, or accidental death and dismemberment insurance. Banks throw this at you all the time. For just a few pennies, you can be covered for accidental death or if you lose a limb or something like that. Okay, like that sounds okay. If you actually Googled this and looked it up, if you looked on Investopedia specifically, I love how they describe it very fairly, but they say, no one ever collects on this. No one ever files a claim on this because the language is so tiny. Like you have to have fallen off a truck on a Tuesday and hurt your left toe to be able to file a claim under this type of insurance. But it looks like a good deal. So I'll see a lot of women especially who think, oh gosh, I need all of these insurance products to be safe. But if you really read the fine print and look at what problem does this product solve, sometimes you don't even have that problem. It's very unlikely that you would. So I'm not saying don't buy insurance, because in many ways, insurance can be a great thing, especially for women to have. Ms. Chavez mentioned we do live longer than men. So life insurance is a pretty cool thing for a lot of women. But all I'm saying is ask questions. When you're dealing with any kind of insurance product, they can get really big and wordy and onerous to pack in all of these things you don't need, but you are paying for. So anytime you have something like that that's a little confusing, ask questions. You know the joke about how men never ask for directions and women will? Use that as a strength when you're dealing with financial products. Ask questions and get clear answers. And if the person explaining it to you doesn't make sense, talks down to you, you don't get it, go somewhere else. There are plenty of financial planners and insurance people out there who can explain things to you. So walk away if something doesn't feel right and sounds weird. The other thing I have up here is what else could you do? So for example, if you had that accidental death and dismemberment, well, if you're kind of afraid of, gosh, I don't know with the unknown, what else could I do to protect myself? What about saving into an emergency savings account? That's a good first step. Then you're not paying an insurance company to give a bunch of rules that you have to follow in order to get your money back. You have your money in an emergency fund that you could get if you had an emergency. So it's just kind of thinking around other ideas. Maybe you don't need a product, maybe you just need a savings account. Something like that. That's something that as a planner, I do with clients all the time. I say that I'm a thought partner. Let's sit and brainstorm this kind of stuff and find something that's good for you. So have a thought partner and see what else you could do. All right, that's hack number 2. Ms. Chavez, were there other questions?
Oh.
Yeah, Monica.
Monica had a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Monica.
Oh,
yes.
So and I've always wondered this, would it be better, because I do that. I don't have insurance, but I do have a savings account. Mm-hmm. Granted, I do keep like a minimum in there, but is it better to have the savings, do you think, or putting money away like under the couch or somewhere? Because I do that too. Like I have like spots where like I'll keep a certain amount of money just in case, like have a flat in the middle of nowhere, I have an extra cash in like the glove compartment or something, or in a bag, something like that.
Gotcha.
I've always wondered like if it's better to have it in the bank, because I know I've heard that in the future it helps with like stuff, but I've always wondered if
you're totally right. That's a good question. So think about if you've got it in your couch or in a bag somewhere and something happened to you, who would be able to find it or know where it is?
One of my 4 girls.
Okay, so you do have one resource. That's good.
Yeah, they're all, that's it.
That's cool. The other thing you pointed out though is if it's not on the financial services radar, like in a bank,
Right.
it's not helping you to grow your credit, improve your credit score, get a history, those types of things that
Okay.
money just sitting around
Right.
can do if
Mhm.
it's sort of on the radar. So that would be one benefit
Okay.
of putting it in a bank instead. Also, I know right now savings accounts don't make much at all, but they make something more
Yeah.
than the dust in your couch. So there's that. And there's a day when savings accounts will make a little bit more
Mhm.
and more and more and be more interesting. I'm glad you asked, by the way. There's a website called bankrate.com, bankrate.com. You can go on there anytime and see what current savings rates are. So, right now it's not going to be hugely exciting, but you can always check into that every once in a while and say, oh, hey, look at this. Here is a bank that maybe I don't have a relationship with yet, but they're offering a deal for a savings account that makes 1.2%. Hey, that's better than 0.00 nothing. So it's worth it to go shopping. They also have links on Bankrate where if you see that, you can click for more information and read about, is it legit? Is there a minimum? Is this a limited time offer? You can get all that information because knowledge is power for sure. But that's a good resource to have. Does that help answer your question, Monica?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Chavez, were there any other before I move on to the next slide?
No, I don't believe so. I was just dropping some of the links that you were mentioning into the chat if anyone wanted to click on those.
You are so awesome. Thank you. I need her all the time. Can you come to all my presentations, please?
Yes.
All right, ladies, we're on to the third and final point that I want to talk about today, and that is retirement and investing. And the best way that I know to illustrate this is the tale of 2 women. And this is an actual story of 2 women that I worked with. Names have been changed, of course, but this was really interesting to me. So I worked with these 2 women who in most things looked exactly the same. They worked at the same place. They worked in the same department. They were the same age. They made the same salary. So like all factors considered, they probably should have pretty much the same in their retirement accounts, right? They both work at the same employer, doing the same thing. Wow, no, they weren't. So the first one, we'll call her Jen. She retired a few years ago at age 59, early, right? Because most people think of retiring in their 60s. So she retired early. She had $1 million saved up just in her retirement savings account with her employer. Pretty darn good. Pretty cool. Lisa, who is also 59, look at that. She has $342,000. What? That's what I said when I saw these 2 accounts. How in the world could they be this different? And I want to share 2 key takeaways from this. The first was that Jen, who had the $1 million, looked for every opportunity to save and invest. Right? So you think about when we talked earlier about gamifying, how can I? This is the question to be asking. That's what she did. So both of these were teachers. So Jen taught overloads. She taught summer classes. She took on extra classes and extra work. She went as high as she could on that pay scale ladder. She did everything she could, all while maintaining a level of lifestyle. So every time she got a raise, she didn't increase and go, hey, now I can buy 6 more things. She kept her lifestyle and put more and more money. She saved her raise. She put more and more money away into these retirement accounts. So that's the first thing. Lisa, who has the smaller amount, didn't do that. She wasn't particularly motivated to do that. And so she just did the minimum of teaching that she had to do to get her salary. And she took the summers off and traveled. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying you see the difference that makes. The other thing that's a real key takeaway here, ladies, is Jen was invested in stocks, in aggressive mutual funds. She looked at her retirement account about once a year with her advisor. And that was it. She didn't mess with it very much. She basically set it and forget it for the most part. Lisa was really scared of the stock market. She was terrified. So she didn't invest in any stocks. She put everything into the guaranteed fund inside that retirement account, which guaranteed 3% a year as a return. So in a year like 2008, when the stock market lost a lot of money, she felt really good. But that's 1 year out of the 30 that she was working. Do you think the other years, maybe sometimes the stock market probably was more than 3%? Oh yeah. If you look at the history of the stock market, it's pretty easy to beat that 3%. But those years that are negative are the ones that scare us because that's what sticks in our minds. I once heard it said that our minds are Velcro for the negative and Teflon for the positive. And that's the way we're wired. But if we know that and are aware of it, again, we can turn that around and make that work for us. So I think the way that Jen made that work for her was she was more afraid of not having money than she was afraid of the stock market. So she put that money into her retirement account and said, okay, I'm not going to look. I'm just going to let it ride. And at the end of the day, she retired at 59, whereas Lisa is not going to be able to retire on 342 grand, guys. It's not going to work. She's going to need to keep working. So moral of the story here is seize any opportunities to save and invest, and don't fear the market. You don't have to be irresponsible and unable to sleep at night, but you should be able to have a nice medium of where there's enough risk to get you some return without completely terrifying you. That can be done. Okay, so I think that's my story on the retirement investment part. So today we've gone through what is wealth, talking about affluence versus wealth. We've talked about the 3 unique challenges women face and how to overcome them. That's the budget and gamifying that, maybe even playing with fire. That's insurance and asking the question, does this product solve a problem I actually have? Do I really need it? And then that's retirement and investing. Don't fear the market. I really date myself, but you know the song, Don't Fear the Reaper? That's what I think of. Don't fear the market. Okay, I'll shut up now. So I am now open for your Q&A, ladies. Anything else that, I know there's a lot of financial topics out there that we weren't able to cover today, but any questions that I can answer right now? Oh, crickets, I must have done a pretty good job. Ms. Chavez, was there anything else in the chat?
I actually have a question.
Is this Jahira?
Juliana.
Juliana, I'm sorry, I don't have you on my screen. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
I guess I have been kind of interested in like the stock market and like type of, because I would rather use apps. Like, would you recommend Robinhood, or is there any other things that you would recommend?
Oh, what a good question. There are so many apps out there that allow you to participate in investing. So I am not as familiar with Robinhood as I probably should be. I've heard a lot of negative things about it in talking to other peers in just other financial professionals. The reason that they feel negative about it is that there are not enough disclosures out there to make it really clear to an investor what they're buying when they buy things. So there's kind of a caution about using something like that, that a lot of money could be lost when people don't know what they're getting into. So that's one caution on something like that. There is a great website that you can go to research pretty much anything that you are thinking about investing, whether that's a stock, whether that's a mutual fund, like in a 401k, That website is morningstar.com, morning like the time of day, and then star.com. That gives you a lot of great information about what you're buying before you buy it. So that would be my advice, is know what you're buying and what your goal is for that before you buy anything. Because something that's a hot buy or a hot stock probably isn't anymore. By the time that it gets into the news or the media or into your app, or you hear it from a friend, it's probably because it's already done well, and it might be past the time to buy it, is kind of what we observe. So yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more about apps to recommend, but I would go to morningstar.com first and research what it is that I want to buy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I could just, again, I'm sorry, I'm a story person.
Yeah, jump in, Tracy.
One of the great things about this session and that Chastity, Peggy, and I had talked about is, and why it's so important. Particularly, I think, and I'm going to stereotype a little bit for women, we tend to, once we get in a relationship, it's like, okay, I'll take care of this, you take care of all of that, right? You do all the financial stuff, all the investing, all of that, you handle the money and all that. And then, we never want something bad to happen, but if it does, then, you don't know where your money is. You don't know where it went or how to access it, or, is it in mutual funds? Is it in stocks? Is it in, did we have a college fund? Did we have, you're going to the, sometimes to the person who is, not your friend right now, and you're asking them to give you information to make financial decisions for you. So I would say always, obviously, whenever we get into a relationship with someone and we decide to share finances, never give over the control completely. Always have a, monthly, again, I'm Dave Ramsey, so I'm going to say, he usually says, you have a monthly budget meeting with your family or your significant other. And you say, where is all the money? What did we invest? Where's all, make sure that your name is on everything. Make sure that, you have access to everything. And I think, Peggy mentioned that earlier, that typically in a divorce situation, women end up kind of behind the curveball, because oftentimes we do say, look, I'll take care of the kids and do all that part. You handle all the finances. And then you're like, I have no idea how much money I have or where it is or what I'm entitled to or how to access it. So I would say it's so smart to get, like, at this point in your life right now, to say, I'm going to learn about investing. I'm going to learn what it looks like, where, what's the difference between a 401k and, a 529 and mutual funds and all of those things. And really just kind of take control and make sure that you always have, an equal say and information, so that, worst case scenario, if you do have to walk away, you do know for sure, I know exactly what I'm walking away with and how to access it.
Yes, Tracy, that's so true. You can also make it fun, because I'm all about making things fun. Finance can be really heavy, and it doesn't have to be. So Barry Tesler is an author you might also check out, Tracy, if you're not familiar. I love Dave Ramsey, but Barry Tesler kind of has the women's side of things, and she calls them money dates. So a monthly budget meeting, you could call it that if you like. She likes to call them money dates, and she likes to have chocolate and wine and, kind of make it a little bit fun. But to have that conversation with anyone you're involved with in a significant capacity, especially in Texas, ladies, it's a community property state. So half of his is yours and half of yours is his. So know that and know what you're entitled to, like Tracy was saying. That's a very good advice. Part of the way to do that, by the way, is to just have a balance sheet conversation. Some people will call it a net worth statement if you're kind of more accounting oriented. I like to call it balance sheet, so it gets away from the feeling of worth, because it's not any statement on your self-worth. But if you have a balance sheet conversation My husband and I have one on New Year's Day every year, and we're geeks, so it's really fun. You get to look at what do you have together as a couple. We have, yours, mine, and ours kind of layout. Nothing wrong with that. You can also combine. It's really up to you when you do decide as a couple. But to look at, oh, hey, look, we focused on, for example, paying off this debt, and this is where we are now this year. Or we focused on putting the max in our retirement accounts, and this is where we are. And if you do that at one consistent date each year, it really gives you a cool snapshot of how far you come and what you're doing, where you're heading. If you just do that alone, that's really powerful information. Whether you're in a couple or whether you're doing it yourself, just do your own balance sheet. I have a client who loves to do it on her birthday. She says, it feels like I'm adulting on my birthday. I lay out all my stuff, and it's really cool to see. And it really helps you to get a big picture view, because honestly, people who look at it every day or even every week, you'll drive yourself crazy. That's like sitting and planting a seed and just watching it and going, grow. Well, it will eventually, but not while you're watching it every second there. So balance sheet is another hack there that I think helps, like Tracy was saying, to know where all this stuff is.
Laura, if I may.
Hey, Chastity.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm sorry I had another appointment earlier in the day, but I was able to get on. I know I missed the beginning of this, but I did want to make some comments to bounce off of Tracy's comments. It's kind of a story. I'm kind of like her too. I get the picture when I get a story, and I wanted to share this with you guys. It is fairly private, personal for me, but my father, when he was very young, he was still an adolescent, he lost both of his parents in the same car accident. Mm-hmm. And when they went to go to deal with his parents' estate, they had no will. So by law, they were only able to break up their assets, as in his mother and his father's assets, according to the two boys, and did not recognize his three sisters. Yes. So those are things to think about in terms of making sure that you have a will, because whether we like it or not, anyone who is over the age of 18, there's two things you should be thinking about as well. And Laura knows this because I work with a colleague of hers, Mr. Phil Lakeview, which is you should have a power of attorney for your health as well as a will for your assets. You might think, oh, well, I only own this car, or, oh, I only have these few belongings. You need to tell someone who are going to get those things, as well as checking in with someone who's your asset. I also want to say that personally, I'm single. So I still have conversations with my immediate family, as in a lot of my assets and things are tied up with my mother. And my dad is aware of it, but my mother is the one that handles it first. So if something happens to both of them, then my assets roll to one of my siblings, who I've also had a conversation with. So it's very, very important so people know where not only these things are at, but what your wishes are with your money or the things that you have. So that emergency fund, yeah, that might be money that's sitting there. That may be something someone has to use for you when you either A, get ill, or unfortunately B, may pass away. So you want to make sure that you're sharing this with close people that you know, in addition to having this emergency fund as well. I mentioned that because that's another cautionary tale that people don't want to think about. They don't want to think about death and dying. They don't want to think about getting hurt. But these are all things that realistically that we live with in this world, that something could happen to all of us at any point in time. You talked about the death and dismemberment insurance earlier, and that's kind of what triggered this. But I wanted to state that as well, that there are a few pieces that come along with this emergency fund that are contingency plans as well, that will actually go further beyond your emergency fund. But most people think, oh, I'm 20, ain't gonna happen to me, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. And then there's issues where, if you guys have never heard of this lady, her name is Terry Shivo. She had a stroke in her 30s, had no will, but she was married, and her husband and her parents fought over her care when she was no longer able to speak for herself. And that is something that I heard. The woman was a little older than me at the time. And when I heard the story, it actually very much scared me. So thinking about those things in your finance and your health as well, all of these things are connected to a degree. So I just wanted to share that with people, not to frighten anyone, but just some things to think about, because there are folks out there that have had to deal with this.
Yeah. And Chastity, I do love that you brought that up. A simple will and power healthcare directive could be gotten even on something like LegalZoom.com.
I have a very simple generic one. And I made it very easy. I said everything goes to mom. And then some of my friends were like, you gave it all to your mom? And I was like, well, she's living right now. If she's not living, then I change it later, So those are things that you can think about, because most people think, oh, your mother's older, she could theoretically pass before you. But I also, as her daughter, can change it if she does. If either one of my parents pass away. But these are realistic things that you need to think about. I was told to think about these things because I live more than 5 hours from anyone that is a person of blood. Okay. And I do have someone who is a power of attorney, my medical power of attorney. And I have told that individual, hey, this is what I need you to do until my parents get here. And that gives them the authorization to make some medical decisions about me.
Yeah.
And it's very simple.
It's very important, because even if you are clear on, well, obviously it would be this person or this friend or this brother, sometimes the law won't allow them to speak for you if you can't, or to even help you out in ways that you would think you would want. So having those official documents can be very, very important and very helpful. And as I said, if you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? Do I even need to go to an attorney? Check out LegalZoom. Do that as a first step. They have the information on wills and healthcare directives there, that something is better than nothing. Because if you don't have anything in place, as you experienced, Chastity, the state does have a plan for you. And it might not be the one that you want. Right, right. Because there are laws on that. So that's worth checking out. Good point. Awesome. I'm going to just share this last slide, ladies. If you have any questions, anything I can help with, my email is Laura, that's me, at shadowridgeinvest.com, and our website's right up there. So I'm available to you as a resource. I love doing these webinars, and I think we've got another one next month, as I mentioned. We're going to do one on debt that got rescheduled because of Snowmageddon. Yeehaw! But I'm excited to do that one next month, and just really excited for you ladies. As I said, you've got some natural gifts that can really put you ahead of the game if you just harness them and use them. You're going to do great.
Hi, Laura. Selena with the Boardroom Project. I believe I read that y'all are an RIA. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you for asking.
Of course. I would love for you to kind of just touch on that, because as you know, there aren't as many female financial planners even out there. So to even introduce your profession to them and kind of, just maybe differentiate between an RIA and an independent financial, just to give them an understanding of exactly what you do and the services you provide.
Oh gosh, I love that question so much. Thank you. I'm going to stop the share so I can actually then bring up our website, which has that very question on it. So when you go out and you're looking at different financial companies and different financial products, you'll see a lot of terminology. And one of the most common is you can work with a broker-dealer, or you can work with an RIA. An RIA stands for a registered investment advisor. Now, that just sounds like a lot of words, and who cares really? But there's a big difference in the standards that we are held to as professionals. So with an RIA, they are considered fiduciaries, which means basically, I explain it to clients, I'm your employee. I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm not trying to push an investment on you. I am required by law to be acting in your best interest at all times. So that's a fiduciary relationship. A broker-dealer is not held to that standard of care. That doesn't mean there aren't good people out there who work at broker-dealers. I don't mean that at all. But they are not, by law, held to that same standard that we are. So I usually recommend that you look for an agent who is independent, whose first loyalty is to you and not to a company who has a quota of something they need to sell or how many assets they need to generate, but really is just acting in your best interest. So you're looking for an independent financial planner, preferably at an RIA is obviously my leaning in. And I say that also because I came from the broker-dealer world. That's where I learned. And once my husband and I worked together down at the RIA, once we kind of learned more about financial services, we went, this isn't right. We don't like this at all. This is not the way to do good in the world and for our clients. What else can we do? And then RIAs were pretty new because this was a while ago. But we made that leap to be RIAs instead. And now you can find a lot more of them out there. So thank you for asking that. That was such a great question. Oh, I was going to bring up my website. Whoops, I forgot to share my screen. That
When
would
you
help.
say IRA, is that's also like the
Different. So I'm glad you said that, Monica. So it's RIA.
Oh.
Yep. That's the kind of company. An IRA is totally different.
Yeah, I was like, I think I have one. That.
Yep. Yes. So
Okay.
an IRA, if you think about what it stands for, IRA is an individual retirement account.
Mhm.
IRA. An RIA is a registered investment advisor.
Got it.
No, thank you.
Up on the screen.
Because there aren't, I in a former life used to buy and sell financial firms across the country.
Wow.
Yes, very niche out of Portland, Oregon.
Cool.
Worked with some of the top broker dealers across the country, but from my experience and what I've seen, and is something I really hope to build out through BRP as well, is bringing more women into that financial sector, knowing that we're going to be the head of household by 2051, knowing that, you know, we will be the breadwinners. So we have to not only be the ones to make those decisions, but we should want to have women helping us make those decisions versus depending on men to do so.
Excellent, excellent point. And I'm glad to say that I've seen the industry change a lot in the, let's just say over 15, I'm not going to go there, over 15 years that I've been working in it. That it used to be when I first started, I was the only woman in the room. Maybe two. We'd be like, hey, but that was it. Now I do see a lot more women, and thank heavens, I'm also seeing women of color finally coming into financial services. So look for that when you're searching for a person to talk to and trust. We're out there. You can find us, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, I was going to ask, you have shared some very helpful websites. Are there any apps that you know of that you find useful for budgeting or investment?
Oh, thanks for asking, Ms. Chavez. So I have heard a love-hate relationship with the app Mint or Mint Money. Some people love it, some people hate it. So it's really up to you and how you like to engage with your money. I think any tool, app, software, anything that helps you to engage with your money, to make it meaningful, to make it feel like it's easy, efficient, convenient to deal with your money, great, awesome. Any tool that feels like it distances you from the process, not good. So I have some people honestly like to use just Excel. Great, ain't no shame in that. And then some prefer something that a lot more automated. Mint is one that I have heard of as being pretty good. There's another one that's kind of great with budgeting called You Need a Budget, YNAB. You Need a Budget. There's also a book. I really like their approach. I think it's very accessible. So that's another one to check out. Is there anything else on my radar? Not
Laura,
really.
if I may, I have used Mint before, and personally, I'm one of those individuals that, just like you described, I used Mint and it was overwhelming for me because it was showing lots of different categories of where your money would go at. It was really breaking things down. I was like, this is too much. It was pulling and drawing information from various bank accounts that I had because I had submitted the information.
Yeah.
So I think someone who really likes numbers would love Mint, but it didn't work for me. So I was old school, like, okay, how do I build a simple ledger out of an Excel document? And that's the way to go for me.
There you go.
It is helpful, but like I said, so I think everyone should try Mint and at least look at it. I tried it for about 2 months and I couldn't get out of it fast enough. So,
Thank you for sharing that, Chastity. There's another one I just thought of as well for those who are Dave Ramsey fans. So Tracy, you might know this one. It's everydollar.com, and I think it's an app as well. That's another one that some clients, I have one client in particular, she loves that. And the name comes from the thought of every dollar needs a job. So every dollar that comes into your bank accounts, you assign a job. You know, it's for this savings goal, or it's for electricity, or it's for clothing, or blah, blah, whatever. But you get really specific on that. And some clients love that. So that's another one to check out.
That one also has a free version and a subscription version.
Thank you, Tracy.
So like what Chastity was saying, where the subscription version, you would put your bank information and it deducts for you. It does all the work for you. The free version, you have to go in and input, you know, how much you spent in each area. And then you have to do all your own math, right? And it's only as good as you are in going in and putting what you spent. So if you're one of those people that's like, I probably will forget if I spent, you know, $50 at Bed Bath & Beyond, you know, or what is the other one that you were talking about earlier?
Bath & Body Works.
Bath & Body Works. So that's my daughter's thing. I was like hearing my daughter's voice when you were talking. But, like if you forget to put that in, that you spent that, then you'll have it won't be correct. Whereas if you do the subscription, it'll pull that it'll show that $50 from where it was deducted from your bank account.
And
it'll just,
okay. I was gonna say, sometimes if you use maybe one credit card or one debit card, sometimes your bank or your credit card company will also do that for you. They'll show you spending categories. So you could do it that way. You could do tracking that way just by keeping an eye on your spending categories. That's another way to do it without having to pay for an app. Most people though have multiple products. So not just, you know, one credit card, but then they also have a bank account or some other. So an aggregator, which is basically what Mint is, can be helpful. If you got a lot of stuff spread out, it can kind of help to be the funnel. So all of these things though do have free trials. So if you're curious, go out and try one and see if it works for you or not. And then like Chastity, if you hate it, just walk away. Unsubscribe, get rid of that, simplify your life. So great.
What was the app that you mentioned about that would help with the oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Oh Lordy, hold on.
There was 3 that you mentioned that I took note of: the Mint or Mint.com. You need a budget and every dollar.
It was actually it was before these. It was before that whole section.
Was it about investing, Monica? Was it Morningstar?
Morningstar. That was it.
Yes, ma'am.
I had got part of it, but I didn't get the whole part of it.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? For fun, hey, I could bring it up. Cool. Oh, this was fun. This is the website I also shared, ladies. This was the Fire, by the way. I love this. They have a little bumper sticker. My other vehicle is a 401k. I love that. But let me bring up Morningstar so you can actually, sometimes it helps to see it so you know what you're dealing with and that you've landed at the right spot. So boom, there you go. So this is about investing. When I said make sure you research what you are going to buy, here it is. And on this splash page, you can see in the middle here, this is showing you the broad market. Oh, great, an ad. Get out of here. Oh, shoot. So since I'm screen sharing, I'm not seeing a little X that, oh, there we go. Yay. Okay. So This here in the middle shows you the broad market. You can see, I like that it's color coded. So you can see that today was somewhat of an up day because it was mostly green. 2 sectors were in the red. So that just kind of gives you an interesting trivia tidbit. If you're going to research something, right up here is where it says search quotes and cite. So you could put something specific, whether that's a stock you're looking for, or I like to say when you're offered a 401k by an employer, you can go in there and look at the stats and the data on the choices that you have available to you. Nah. Well, never mind. That could be a whole different rabbit hole to go down. I was going to bring up some to show you. But they will tell you the stats on the performance history, the risk, and the return, which are useful things to know anytime you're considering an investment. And maybe sometime we'll have a class on that. That could be fun too. So
that would be awesome because I would like to know more about that. I have one when I was with a company I was with before school. And since I left, I transferred it to my bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was a Roth because I knew nothing about it. It was one of my ex-coworkers who said, this is probably the best one for you to do. And that's all I know. So and it's just sitting over there, but that's all I know. Awesome. I know nothing about anything else.
Well, without going, like I said, down a rabbit hole, your ex-coworker was right. Roths are fantastic and amazing. Because they're the only vehicle out there that is tax-free income when you retire. So anytime you hear the word Roth 401k, Roth IRA, Roth 403b, yay, Roth is great. You don't get a tax break today, so sometimes that's something someone needs, but you are building tax-free income for your future, and that's really cool. I don't get to say tax-free very often as a financial planner, so nice job there.
Yay, okay, so that's good to know. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to mention, if you ladies enjoyed today's presentation, we do plan these presentations every month. It's part of a financial literacy series. And so I dropped it into the chat, but the financial literacy has a portal on Alamo Experience. And if you go and select that link, you can go and follow that portal and you can stay updated on all of our presentations. We hope to invite Ms. Redfern back with us next month to talk about perhaps credit, building credit and credit score. Or no, I'm sorry, we're rescheduling a different one. I'm sorry. That's also.
I was like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's also another one coming up in April. But Ms. Redfern will be talking about a different topic that we originally had scheduled for February. So please stay connected with us through the Alamo Experience portal so that you can receive updates as we are planning and presenting this new material. So thank you for joining us today, ladies.
Thank you. It was an honor to be with you.
We hope that this topic was informative for you and that you'll be able to apply some of the information that you learned today to assist you in charting your own financial freedom. Also, I will be dropping into the chat a link to a survey. So please, we want to hear from you, and we also want you to get credit for attending today's presentation. And so your name will be entered into a drawing for a Tiff's Treat, courtesy of our Student Life office. And so I will be dropping that again into the chat. If you could take a few minutes and also complete this survey as well. So before she leaves, can you please join me in a round of applause for our speaker today, Ms. Laura Redfern. Thank you for your time and for all your valuable information.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, I have her information in the chat as well with the website and then also her direct email. So if you guys have any questions or are looking to secure a certified financial planner, please feel free to reach out to her for more information. Thank you so much for your time, Laura. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate your time and your information.
Appreciate you, ladies. You're going to do great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Laura. Have a good day. All right, so I will turn it back over to you, Miss Selena.
Thank you, Peggy. And thank you really for inviting us, our NLC women leaders to this presentation, because anytime we can talk about financial education, there's never enough of that. And there's so many topics that really